Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the WIT podcast. I am, as always, excited to spend some time hanging out with successful and fun and interesting teen entrepreneurs. And today I get to share someone with all of you. Her name is Mahreen, and she has a company that she's involved with. And I'm going to learn a little bit more about if she started it solo, if she started it with people, how she got there. And also, as always, talk about how you juggle life as a high schooler and being a teen entrepreneur and all that comes with it. So we're excited to have you here today. And let's just jump into some rapid fire questions as a fun way to get to know you. So where are you coming from today? Where are you? What part of the world?
Well, I am from the UAE, known as Dubai. You probably know it as Dubai. I'm actually from Pakistan, but I was born and raised here. So I've lived here all my life.
Our first guest from Dubai. Very exciting. All right. Favorite color?
Red. You can see my hair is red as well. It's red. Everything's red in my life.
Okay. And what are you binge watching anything right now?
I've only watched one TV show, which is Friends, and I just keep watching that over and over again.
For those of
I
you
love that.
For those of you listening and not watching, this is so crazy. I'm actually not recording where I usually record. I'm at a friend's house and she gave me a cup of, her husband makes amazing coffee. So he made me this coffee drink and the mug is Central Perk. Okay. I've never had this mug. I did not know this. Our guest was a huge Friends fan, but it's all feeling like it's meant to be. Okay. So that's her. Okay. Binge watching show is Friends. All right. What's a song that you listen to that kind of get you pumped up when you're maybe struggling and need to get your energy up?
That's a good question. So I love listening to slow songs. They hype me up as well, even though that's kind of contradictory. But then I love listening to Willow by Taylor Swift. It's just like, I love it. The lyrics, everything, the background music, the instruments. Oh, it's just incredible.
I'm sure some listeners are going to agree with you on that. Okay. And how old are you?
I am 18 now.
And how old were you when you started your business?
I was 17.
And what is the name of your business?
So my organization is called Entrepeureka. It is a combination of two words, entrepreneur and eureka. So Entrepeureka.
And if you were stuck, well, not stuck, but if you're in the elevator with somebody and you had like 10 floors to go and you had to pitch them your business, what would you say your business is?
It is an organization that empowers the youth and equips them with the skills they need to conquer in the real world.
All right. Well, we have something in common then, because that's kind of what we do over here at WIT, whatever it takes. And this is what's so cool, everybody. Don't get it twisted in thinking that if people are doing something similar to what you're doing, that you're in competition. You can potentially be in collaboration if your values align and do bigger things together. Sometimes it can be like, oh, well, if she's doing entrepreneurship education and we're doing entrepreneurship education, then it can't work. And that's not true. I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot today. And I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of this, we've even come up with a way to work together. So let's get started on learning more about what you do. So tell us, what made you want to create this organization?
So I actually live in this small city called Alain in the UAE, and we did not have as many like entrepreneurial business related opportunities here for specifically middle school and high school students. So initially I wanted to create Entrepeureka for my community in Alain. I went through a lot of complications to do that. And one of the main reasons was because I was young. I was not being taken seriously in a lot of places I went to where I wanted to hold events and I wanted to hold competitions for the youth and so on. But I was not able to because of my age. A lot of my meetings were cut short when they realized, when they saw my face and realized how young I was. So eventually, I met a couple of people at a conference who were also really interested in what I wanted to do. We got together and I pitched them the idea of making it global, making it virtual instead, because Corona happened. So I was like, why not shift it up a little bit, make it virtual and go global? So that's exactly what I did.
So many things that I want to touch on there. One, relate. We went global when COVID hit because we could. No longer were we confined, so to speak, to being location based in different cities. We could now take our program virtual, where before parents were resistant. There was a little bit of, no, I want my teen to be in a room with other teens. And so for years we were thinking about doing things virtually, but it was just hard to get parents on board with it. But then they were forced to get on board with it, saw that we could execute really well. And it was good, a data point for us that we could execute so well too. Uh, it's interesting, there's so many hard things that have come as a result of COVID. And as always, you can put the word and into something. And there are silver linings. A silver lining for our organization was being able to reach more teens. And I can't imagine our organization without the teens that we have from around the world now. It's like crazy. So definitely relate to that. And I also know that our teen listeners are going to relate to not being taken seriously in those rooms. I hear that over and over. That was one of the catalysts for me launching WIT, was not because I'm a teenager, but because I thought teens should be taken seriously, because I once was a teen and I wasn't taken as seriously as I wanted to be. So it's really interesting to the listener, because remember, on this podcast, we want you to have takeaways that connect to your business, for your own growth with your own business, but also for yourself as a leader and a young entrepreneur. And I think a lot of times the takeaways for our listeners is that they're not alone, which is always a good reminder that you're not alone. And in this case, maybe not being taken seriously in the work that you're doing. Well, you've just heard from Mahreen that she also was not taken seriously, but kept going. What do you think helped you keep going? Because you could have just been like, "No, I don't think I'm going to do this."
So this was a really huge gap that existed in my city, because a lot of the opportunities and a lot of these competitions and so on were happening in other larger cities in the UAE and not where I was living. So that sort of kept me going, because I knew this is something that I need. This is something that people around me need. And this is something that everyone that I knew in my school, outside of my school, would talk about. We would literally have rants about this. So I knew that that's what kept me going, talking to people and knowing that this is something that actually is needed in our community. That's why I contacted so many different venues and so many different organizations, companies, to be able to execute the events that I had in mind. Actually, even though we weren't really able to execute the events face to face at the end, first in the beginning was because we were young, because we weren't being, we weren't taken seriously. But at the end, there was actually one manager of a company who, even though he knew we were young, but he sat down with us, had like a 2-hour meeting with us, and like listened to all our ideas. And even though he said that he can't really help us out, but he gave us so much feedback, so much constructive criticism, and gave us other opportunities and showed us other ways where we could execute the platform. So that's what I love. I feel like the youth, they definitely need to stand up for themselves, look for opportunities, but the adults also need to be there to provide those opportunities to them, to open, to be open to listening to the youth, to even just having a simple conversation with the youth is really effective. Like when I met that manager, even though he didn't really help us out at the end in executing the event, we still had this effective conversation where we learned so much, and I was able to improve the idea of Entrepeureka so much better. So I just feel like just these simple conversations go a long way as well, between generations, between adults and the youth, because the youth are undervalued. Like, we have to face the truth. We are undervalued. We are not listened to seriously, but the youth are just as passionate, because we know when we aren't listened to, we fight even harder. And that's what I've seen from my experience. That's what I'm seeing from other youth experiences, because we are like capital investments for long-term benefits. You need to talk to us, you need to invest in us, because we are the future.
I agree. So, I mean, I'm not anyone that has to get convinced on that, but I would say for any of the adult listeners, just one conversation and maybe even just taking the time to listen to a young person or a teenager really goes a long way. I continued to learn this lesson myself, and I've made a living over the past, over 10 years in this space. And I need to remind myself to listen more than I talk, and realize that when you're a teenager, you're usually getting talked at a lot versus listened to. And it really goes a long way. And we really can learn a lot as adults by listening to the teens in our world, or the young people in our world. Uh, so I love that that mentor, I mean, it kind of turned into a mentor moment with that person, maybe unintentionally. But it's a good tip for adults to take those moments and to listen. Okay, so tell us exactly what your program looks like in action. So what does that look like to get involved? What does it look like when you're doing the program? Walk us through it.
Yeah, definitely. So Entrepeureka aims to equip the youth with the skills for the real world through competition, through challenges, through workshops. So the very first challenge that we held was the Deliver the Future Challenge. Basically, we partnered up with this Canadian deliver company called Deliverbay. And this was during the pandemic time, when the multi-billion-dollar delivery industry was going through all these changes, all these, disruptions, advantages and disadvantages. And there was so much conversations between the adults about what's happening, what should be done. And I wanted the youth to be involved. I wanted them to bring their ideas into the conversation to the table. So participants were basically tasked with coming up with solutions to the challenges that the delivery industry was currently facing. So they had to analyze the challenges that were being faced by the delivery industry. So we had webinars with the CEO of Deliverbay, who talked about these challenges. Participants analyzed those challenges, and it was it went on throughout the summer. So within those 2 months, they analyzed challenges, they prepared reports, they suggested solutions, and then they submitted, and then they presented those entries. And we had some incredible insights, incredible reports. There were some reports, like 50-60 page reports that were made by just 15-year-olds. So it was great to see the creativity and the kind of solutions, the diversity in solutions that were being presented in tackling the challenges faced by the delivery industry. So that was the very first challenge that we held. The winners got to intern at Deliverbay. So they got to try to turn their ideas into reality by interning at Deliverbay and implementing the solutions that they brainstormed and came up with. After Deliver the Future Challenge, we held a marketing challenge, because we know marketing is a really crucial skill.
Yep.
So we held a marketing challenge where people were supposed to create these videos about literally anything they want to, any product, any passion that they have. We had videos about someone loved traveling, so he made a video about airline companies and so on. There were these very different, diverse videos where they had to sort of market the product in such a way that the audience, the viewer, would also be able to connect with with the video and with the person who created that video. So we had that marketing challenge. Currently, we are working on a new project, which is the workshop series for the summer. We have these amazing workshops lined up with these awesome founders of these organizations, and these workshops are more of interaction based. They're not like webinars where we're just having a conversation where the speaker is just speaking for 1 hour. They're more interaction based, where we're actually conversing with our audience. We're having activities and games for them to learn new skills, and the topics revolve personal branding, leadership, emotional intelligence, public speaking, how to run an NPO, how to run a business. So there are some technical skills and there's some soft skills as well. So it's a very cool workshop series that we're working on right now. In addition to that, we have the summer internship applications open right now. We're welcoming summer interns from all over the world, open to any member of the youth. We currently received applicant entries from around 44 cities, 26 countries, 4 continents. It's crazy the number of entries we were receiving and how diverse the applicants are. So yeah, that's what's going on right now.
So what are you looking for in an intern?
So we have 4 teams, 4 functional teams where the interns could join. So we have the social media and marketing team, we have operations and logistics, we have business development and outreach, and we have content creation and research. So these are the 4 teams that interns could join. They could join one or more than one.
What qualities do you look for in an intern?
So a lot of the potential applicants asked us like if we need experience, if we need skills, and so on. And the one answer I gave to all of them was, this is open to any member of the youth. It does not matter what background you're in, because a lot of questions were like, I'm studying science, can I join this or business entrepreneurship organization? I was like, it's open to any member of the youth, does not matter what background you're in. All we need is people who are passionate, driven, and committed. We just want you to fulfill the task in the best way you can, because this is going to be a learning experience for you. We have team leads who will equip you through your journey, through your way. So this is more of a learning experience for you, regardless of the kind of experiences you have, because we want to build your experience. A lot of the problem that the youth face is that in order for them to get a job or like a paid internship is for them to gain experience. But then for them to gain that experience, they need to apply for specific kinds of internships. But then for those internships, they need additional experience. So it's just this, this circle, like this loop that never ends. So that's why this is open to any member of the youth. Does not matter what experiences you have. We want to build that experience for you through this internship.
Okay. I totally agree with all that. And I'm still going to push on that question around what qualities are you looking for in an intern, because that's very different than experience. We're talking about qualities because I mean, obviously it's a bit of a leading question because it's something I'd like to chat with you about and what my experience is with hiring and even adults or teenagers, that qualities and work ethic matter more to me than your experience. But I'm curious how you're handling that and what you're looking for.
So in terms of qualities, I think one specific thing that all of our team members, so we're going through the interview process right now, and in the interviews, one thing that we really look for is for the person to be very collaborative. Why? Because we are a lot of what we do requires a lot of teamwork, a lot of discussions, a lot of meetings. So we all really work as a group, as a team, as a community. So the one thing that I always ask the applicants is the type of work environment they've worked in or they like working in, because we definitely prefer someone who like working in teams and who's very collaborative, who's very outgoing in terms of in our meetings, especially who can bounce off ideas, who can brainstorm a lot of different ideas. So like being creative is definitely something that we look for, and being collaborative. So these 2 elements or qualities are the most important qualities we're looking for right now. I hope that answers your question. You can definitely ask me more if you want me to go into more specifics.
And I was just curious because to the listener to know if that's who you are. Are you collaborative? Are you creative? I mean, for me, my big thing is, can you own your mistakes? Because everybody makes them. And if you're somebody who doesn't know how to own mistakes and will place the blame on somebody else, or just skirt the issue because you don't want to look bad, that's a huge issue for me, both on adult staffs and with teen interns that we have. So I look for people that can be rigorously honest about their role in something. And I also really admire a quality of stick to itiveness, because we're always hopefully learning new things and staying curious of how we can grow businesses or grow our own responsibilities within an organization. And that when you're doing that, like there's going to be times when you're frustrated and you want to give up, or you, like I said, you want to blame somebody else for not making advancements. But if you have stick to itiveness in you, that's such a great quality. You can't really make somebody have that. It's not something that you can score on a report card, and it's not really something that you can put on your resume so much. I mean, you can, because you can see people's, how long they stick with a company, or how they maybe their former bosses can speak to their work ethic. But I wanted to share those things because those things, like taking radical ownership of your life and of your mistakes, or within a company, and apologizing for them and making them right, and also living stick to itiveness, you can go really far in life. And if you'll notice, I didn't say that you have to have a 4.9 GPA, or you need to go to an Ivy League school, or that you need to have parents that did this or did that. No, you can go really far in life with a lot of street smarts and entrepreneurship qualities that are not taught. I want to put that out there to the kid who's like, I'm not really like a great student, or I may not be top of my class. And will I get that internship, or will I get that job? You'd be surprised. Go the extra mile. Not a lot of people there. And that's where I always like to find my people. So that's where I was getting at. I was just curious what you looked for, because you're a teen boss. I'm an adult boss. And we are both looking for interns and looking for team members. And it's just fun to see what we each are looking for. What goals do you have for the organization when you're thinking ahead about where you see it going? What would be like a dream come true for you with the work that you're doing?
I think a dream come true for me and for my team would be the impact that we're creating. So the maximum impact that we could possibly create is our goal. And that is obviously a goal that keeps growing and growing and growing. But we really want we really want our organization to generate these leaders who've been able to create their own companies, their own organizations, their own communities through our advice, through our resources, and through our workshops. We just want to be able to inspire as many leaders, as many change makers as possible. Because one thing that I always live by is that a great leader is someone who can create more and better leaders. And I think that is something that I've always thought of. I've never felt like whenever I've become a leader of anything, I've never wanted to be a leader to just, lead a group of people, tell them what to do, and that's it. No, I want to be a leader to be able to create more leaders, to be able to see and inspire other people in my team to take initiative and to become leaders of their own. And I think, that may be cliche, you may have heard of that before, but that is truly, truly something that I really live by. When I was in high school, when I was in my last year of high school, I ran for student council president, and it was a great experience. We did so much. I introduced these different team leads and team heads, and it was really cool. But I didn't really realize the impact that I had as a leader after I went to my first year of college, because after I did, that's when all these people who I made team leads, who were never a leader before, who never got this like leadership responsibility or role before, all these people contacted me and were like, because of that leadership role you had assigned me, even if it was a small one, you still trusted in me, and that built the confidence in me to go for student council. These were students who had never been in student council or never stood up to stood for student council in all those years that they were a part of the school. But because of that small role that I'd given them, they felt inspired, and that's when I was like, okay, that is a true leader, someone who actually inspires others to become even better leaders. So I think that is what I want. That is my main aim for this organization, and that is what I want to build and create through this organization.
So it sounds like you are providing leadership opportunities. And okay, you're going to correct me if I'm wrong, okay? Because I'm taking in the information in real time. And then I want to make sure that our listeners really understand what's going on and how they could potentially get involved. So you are curating leadership opportunities. So there would be an outside organization, a partner, a company that would be able to utilize your members, your team leaders, to help them with their company, with a project within their company. And then what you're hoping is that in working on somebody else's company, and so coming up with solutions for somebody else's company, they will be developing leadership skills that they can then go use in whether it's launching their own business, or when they're older and they go into a business, maybe they will be somebody who's like a leader within an organization. Is that what's happening?
So yes and no.
Okay.
What you said about how we want to sort of provide our participants, our members, with opportunities to build on their leadership skills, that is absolutely true. All of our projects that we've created, the main goal of all of our projects is to build those leadership skills for these young entrepreneurs, these young students, the youth, basically, to and inspire them to build something of their own. And so one of the ways we did that was through Deliverbay, was by partnering up with that company where these interns were able to work, and that company gets hands-on experience on how to work at this tech company and so on. So in addition, that is one project, but all our other projects have similar aims, but they're not the same thing. So we, the workshop series, we're not exactly partnering up with our company, but we are directly equipping or educating the youth of these relevant leadership skills and so on. So all of our projects have the same goal of equipping this youth with the skills they require to conquer in the real world. But the way we do that is different in each project.
Great. I think it's so helpful for them to hear that. And then because some of the people listening may not know what we do at WIT. And this is why I think it's really cool, because you can have a similar mission, which is to equip, for us, it's to equip tweens and teens with the school, blah, 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 blah. Let me try that again. I am the founder of the organization. I should know this. Okay. It is to equip teens and tweens with the skills necessary to be leaders and entrepreneurs. And how we do that is through college credit courses that you can take as a high schooler. And you can take a course in small business management. You can take a course in social entrepreneurship. You can take a course in giving back. You can also join our membership-based community, which is for the teen who doesn't want the structure of a class, but wants to be around like-minded peers and also have access to our mentors and leaders and unique opportunities, whether that means getting on TV to talk about your business, whether that means getting press or speaking gigs. And so we do it through college credit courses and through a membership-based program. They're doing it through the different projects they put together and opportunities and partnerships. And I think it's really important for you, if you're listening and you're thinking, well, so-and-so already does this. So-and-so's already doing financial literacy programs for kids, or somebody's already doing phone cases that they're designing themselves. Who cares? Your thing is we each are going to have our own, because we all have our own unique gifts and talents. That's how we're put on this planet. Then we're going to bring our own unique gifts and talents to the work that we're doing, even if it's a similar mission. Where I sometimes think it gets wonky is when people think, well, if we're doing the same thing, we shouldn't work together because we're in competition with each other. That's not how my brain works. I hear what she's saying and I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if we could create projects, like WIT has projects that her students might want to be involved in, or maybe we could do something, or she might have teens that want to earn college credit, and maybe we could and build out their businesses even more, or do the membership based model. Or maybe I'll even say, oh, if you're in her organization and you want to join our organization, we'll give you a discount because you're part of that organization. So there's always ways to think about things. The thing that I think is just so important if you're looking and you're thinking about collaborations with people is making sure that your values line up. Because if your values don't line up, your organizational values don't line up, it's not going to work. I mean, you can try it. I have so many times. You would think I would have learned my lesson. But you want to make sure values line up, and a lot of times work ethic lines up, because then it's really fun. Because you're not one person doing all the work and the other person's just benefiting from somebody else doing everything. So it's really about finding the people, if you want to be in a collab with, that share your same values and work ethic. You're nodding. Those of you that are, not watching this on YouTube, she's nodding. She's been nodding her head through this part of this chat. So tell me what you're in agreement with me, which is great, but tell me what you're thinking.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. I think a lot of people that I've met, that I've talked to, who want to set up something, who want to become an entrepreneur, whether it's an NPO or a business or anything, they always think that anyone who has like a similar vision to them is always someone that you cannot talk to because they're your competition. So they're your rivals. You have everything that you do is is in competition with them, and so on. And even if someone else is doing something similar to you, that does not necessarily mean that they're against you.
Exactly.
It's actually the quite opposite. Like a lot of organizations who have similar missions as we do, they've actually reached out to us. We've reached out to them for collaboration opportunities, for promotional opportunities, for projects. And that's because that is how we will be able to build a bigger and larger community, because our target audience could be similar to theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be able to collaborate and build something even bigger. A lot of the workshop series that we're working on, a lot of the organizations that we've collaborated with have similar missions to us, and they're more than happy to collaborate with us, because this is a way for us to combine our forces
Mm-hmm.
and combine our audiences, combine our strengths, and build something even bigger. So that is why I've always said that partnerships and collaborations are so crucial, especially with people who have similar missions with you. A lot of people say that keep your friends closer but your enemies closest, or so on.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, these organizations that are similar to, they're not your enemies. You can work together, you can work on something even bigger together. And that's how I've seen Entrepeureka grow. It's just been a little while since we started, but we've been able to reach a larger audience than anticipated, especially recently, because of the collaborations and partnerships we've done, and because of the projects we've created. And through those projects, I think through the partnerships that I've been a part of, and especially the partnerships with people, with organizations that have similar values than me, we've been able to make a larger impact. And we've had a lot more people come up to us and say that after this project or competition that I was a part of, I learned this and it was so helpful because it led me to this. I had a lot more people coming up to me and saying that because of these larger collaboration that we were able to be a part of. So yeah, I agree with you 100,000% on what you just said about collaborating with people who have similar vision. And when you talked about do it, yeah, like I just started thinking of further ideas on how we could collaborate. When you talk about the college credits and how students can do all these courses, that's actually something I've been already thinking about, actual courses that our community could be a part of. And just the fact that you mentioned that brought all these ideas into my head, and not for 1 second did I think, oh, you're in competition to me. Not at all. Actually, I thought that we can do something together. So yeah, I agree with you 100%.
And I would say to the people out there, there's a couple things that you should ask of the person that if you're going to go into a collaboration. I like to ask people, what does a win look like for you? Or what does success look like for you? Because success for me in doing a collaboration with you could look very different than what it looks like to you. Now, you can still work together. Like, let's say for mine, it's I would love to find 10 teenagers around the world, from around the world, who want to be part of this small business college credit incubator thing that we're doing over the summer. I'm only interested in 10, like go-getters that have a business idea, that are ready to level up, that want press, that want a team of adults around them to help them go big or, go home type thing. I'm looking for 10. Now, that would be a win for me if she helped me find 10, and that we could, in her group of teenagers, that would be a fit for this. But you could say to me, it would be great if you could get 100 of your teens involved in this event that we have coming up. And getting involved looks like attending these workshops or doing this thing or doing that thing. Okay, cool. So now I know what it looks like for her. And she knows what it looks like for me. Then you have the conversation. Okay, can I make that happen for you? Can you make this happen for me? Okay, no, I can do maybe 5. Okay, maybe I can do 50. Friends, you've got to talk it out before you start building something together. I continue to have to learn this lesson over and over again. So try to learn it faster than I did. People will come in hot. They'll come in excited and inspired if you're doing work that's exciting and inspiring. That's great. Just assume that everyone's good. If you're like in the nonprofit space or you're doing good work, assume people are going to be inspired and energized. That's not a hard box to check. Do they have the work ethic? Do they have the communication skills to have that kind of conversation about what's a win for you? What's a win for me? You got to get kind of down into like the nitty gritty before you go off and build. You can't just build from, oh my God, you're doing this. Oh my God, you're doing this. Oh my God, let's do it together. And then think that that enthusiasm is going to carry you through the bumps along the way. You get clear when you have really clear communication from the get-go, because inevitably there's going to be bumps, and you want to be able to say, remember when we talked about this and this is what we agreed upon, versus trying to have that conversation in real time when things are heated. Those are my thoughts from learning this over and over. What do you think?
I think that's a very interesting and valuable point that you just mentioned. So in my experience, a lot of the organizations that I've collaborated with, we did need quite a lot of conversations before we actually got the partnership going. In fact, I've had a couple of bad experiences as well with partnerships, because of the lack of conversations we had prior to the partnership, the launch of the project or whatever we worked on. Because I think I've learned that as I've worked on these projects and so on. I think research into the organization is really crucial to know that they are exactly who you're looking for. So especially for this workshop series, by the time we started working on this series, we've learned a lot because of our past projects and partnerships. Some were very successful, some were like great, like the impact we created were exactly the type of impact we were looking for. So yeah, I didn't mention the failures that could actually come up with some partnerships. And some of the partnerships that we worked on were with people who were a lot older than us. And I don't know if it was because of the difference in ages, but as we went on through the project, or as we went on through the timeline, the other organization would not meet those deadlines, had actually stopped replying to us midway. There were a lot of problems we faced. So after that, we actually learned to create agreements and contracts. That was another lesson that I learned through those experiences. But yeah, having clear cut conversations, you need to mention everything that you have in mind. There's nothing to be shy of, because this is a partnership. You need to know what you're getting into. They need to know what they're getting into before you begin, so that there's no complications when it begins. When you're having all these conversations in between, like the launch and the end of the project, there's a problem there. You need to have all of this going well before the launch. So I've definitely learned that through our experience. And when we were working on this workshop series, we went through a lot of research. We started, I believe, in January. So January, February was just research phase where we're researching on these different organizations to make sure they are people who we would be able to work with. It's not just mission, vision, but the type of people they are also people that we can work with. So some of the founders was in touch with before, so I sort of knew how they are, what kind of team ethic, what kind of work ethic they have, so which also helped in establishing the partnership. But a lot of it goes down to like the research phase and then the communication phase, so then setting up meetings, and as many meetings as you can, set it up, because you need to get all the conversations flowing, all the details that you need to discuss, them all clear. We'd have these long 2-3 pages documents with everything that we're looking for, so that everything is clear cut, so that when we start, there's no questions that need to be asked, no clarifications that need to be made. So yeah, I do agree with you. I think even though I talked a lot about how partnering up with people who have similar mission and visions and is really crucial, but through my experiences, we've also had some failures, and that's because of the lack of communication or the lack of research. So I think those are two elements that have to come before any collaboration or partnership for that success or that impact that you're looking for to be created.
Yeah, I mean, you learn a lot through the failures, and sometimes at least I'll speak for myself, I think, how am I here again? I thought I had learned this already, but it does happen. Life happens.
Yeah.
And each time you try to do just a little bit better than before, or you try to ask that, one or two more questions this time around, just so that you try to avoid any issue. But it's okay. I mean, as an entrepreneur and as a leader, and that's who listens to this podcast, are entrepreneurs and leaders, you're going to have moments where you feel like, oh, I can't believe this thing failed, or, oh my gosh, I'm coming up short as a leader. I'm coming up, like, here we are again. And how did I not learn my lesson? And my advice for you in those moments is to try to show yourself some grace, because entrepreneurs are already really hard on themselves to begin with. And you don't need to be harder on yourself through the tough moments. Try to show yourself some grace, figure out what you can learn from it. And when you know better, you do better. I think that's a Maya Angelou quote, and it's a good one. All right, we are coming up on time, and this is going to be great. I might have to name this episode on, communication and collaborations, like what to know before you get started. And it would be fun to have you back again or chat offline to learn more about how we can support each other's work. I'd love to have you end with any advice you have for the teen who is thinking about getting started, but just thinks like, ugh, I don't know if I can do this thing, or who am I to do this? I'm too young. What's your advice for that teenager?
So in my personal experience, I actually wanted to start Entrepeureka a lot earlier. I started working on it, I think, when I was, like 3 years ago. It didn't work out then. So then I tried again after a couple of months, didn't work out. And then I gave up for a little bit, where I was like, okay, I need to pause for a bit. This is not working out right now. And then eventually when I did start it when I was 17, I think it was the right time, right place. I was just like, no, no more pauses. I need, this is what I want. I have like a mission. I have everything in my mind, and I've written it all down. I have it on paper. Now I just need to bring it into reality. No more excuses. I need to start. So I think the best best advice, sorry, that I could give, which you've probably heard of already, but it is the best advice, is literally to just start. There's something that I've learned. I was talking to another entrepreneur as well, and he was telling me about the law of diminishing returns. I study economics, so I apply economic concepts to my life as well. And the law of diminishing returns is basically when the more effort you put into something, the more productive it would be. But then as you put more and more effort, it would reach a point where the opposite starts to happen, where the productivity line starts falling down. That's because there's only so much effort that you can put in before you need to just start off, I think there's a problem of perfectionism as well, where we just want everything to be absolutely perfect before we start, and that's just not possible. You cannot make there are going to be mistakes, there are going to be problems, and we learn to deal with them. We actually learn from them. So my best advice is you have to do your research. Like, I'm not saying that do not put the effort. You have to do your research. You have to, give in your time, energy in the beginning before your launch, but start, just taking that first step is the hardest step. But once you take it, you will figure out your path along the way. That's what happened to me. I delayed Entrepeureka for a year or two because it wasn't working out. I was facing a lot of problems. If maybe I pushed a lot more earlier on, maybe I could have started earlier, but I learned through those years, and I made Entrepeureka and refined it even better before I started it. So there's obviously a silver lining to that experience, but I would just say start.
Well, then maybe that's where we should end so that everybody can go get started, who's been putting off getting started. Thank you so much, Mahreen, for being here today. And where can they find you if they want to learn more about your work and get involved?
So Entrepeureka is on Instagram, LinkedIn. We have our website, Entrepreneur, Eureka. The combination of those words is Entrepeureka. You might get confused with the spelling, but it's ENTREPEUREKA. And you can also find me on Instagram, Mahreen Munir. But yeah, that's where you can look for us, and we're always open to any questions, anything that you may have. Feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you again for being here today. And for those of you listening, I hope that you found one or two takeaways from today's episode, and we'd love to hear what was valuable to you by commenting. Share this episode if you feel inclined. And thank you again for being here today, hanging out with me. I really enjoyed this conversation. And to everybody, don't forget to do WIT. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Do WIT podcast. If you got something valuable from this experience, which I hope you did, please feel free to share with your friends, comment wherever you're listening to this or watching this. And also, don't forget to follow along on Instagram at Do WIT Podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Do WIT Podcast. And also, just remember, your ideas matter. You're never too young to make a difference. Just keep doing WIT.